The 10 Mistakes of Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche was a renowned philosopher known for his critiques of traditional morality, religion, and culture. While Nietzsche's work has had a significant impact on philosophy and continues to be studied and debated, it is important to note that referring to his ideas as errors may be an oversimplification or a subjective judgment. However, there are some aspects of Nietzsche's philosophy that have been the subject of criticism or possible misunderstanding. Here are some points that some critics have raised. Misinterpretation of the will to power. One of Nietzsche's central concepts is the will to power, which refers to the driving force behind human behavior. Critics argue that Nietzsche's idea of the will to power is often misinterpreted as advocating individual domination or the pursuit of power, while Nietzsche himself meant this more broadly as the fundamental creative and expressive drive in all the aspects of life. Rejection of objective truth. Nietzsche was highly critical of traditional metaphysics and the concept of objective truth. While this rejection has defied conventional wisdom, some argue that Nietzsche's complete rejection of objective truth undermines the possibility of meaningful discourse and opens the door to relativism. Overemphasis on individualism. Nietzsche's philosophy often celebrates individuality and the pursuit of self-realization. However, critics argue that its emphasis on individualism may neglect the importance of community ties, social responsibility, and the well-being of others. Ambiguous stance on morality. Nietzsche declared that God is dead, rejecting traditional religious moralities. Instead, he advocated reassessing values based on individual preferences and desires. Critics argue that Nietzsche's rejection of moral absolutes can lead to moral relativism and the erosion of ethical principles. Misappropriation by extremist ideologies. Nietzsche's ideas were subject to misinterpretation and misappropriation by various extremist ideologies, including Nazis who distorted his concepts to justify their racial theories and totalitarian goals. Critics argue that Nietzsche's philosophy should not be judged solely on the misuse of his ideas by others, but highlights the need for careful interpretation. Lack of political engagement. Nietzsche frequently criticized traditional politics and the herd mentality of the masses. However, some argue that his philosophy falls short in providing practical solutions or political engagement to address social issues, leading to accusations of distancing from world realities. Overemphasis on the strong and rejection of the weak. Nietzsche's philosophy often praises strength, vitality, and exceptional individuals. Critics argue that his ideas risk marginalizing or discounting the value of those who are perceived as weak or disadvantaged, failing to recognize their unique contributions or potential for growth and transformation. Neglect of women's perspectives. Nietzsche's works focus primarily on male experiences and perspectives. Critics argue that this narrow focus limits her philosophy's applicability and relevance to understanding women's experiences and struggles. Disdainful attitude toward empathy and compassion. Nietzsche's critique of pity and compassion is often interpreted as a rejection of empathy and caring for others. Critics argue that a lack of empathy can lead to a devaluation of human connections and impede the development of a compassionate society. Inconsistent views on suffering. Nietzsche's view of suffering is complex and can be interpreted differently in his various works. Critics argue that his ideas about suffering can be contradictory and lack a clear framework for understanding its role and meaning in human life. It is important to note that Nietzsche's philosophy is vast and multifaceted, and these points of criticism do not encompass the entirety of his work. Furthermore, his ideas have been the subject of various interpretations and debates among scholars and philosophers over the years. Read and listen to free ebooks and audiobooks by Friedrich Nietzsche at Virtual Books.